Hi, and welcome back to the Positive Prepper. So, there's a few things that I want to talk about, but I want you to understand that I have to be careful what I say just because of the platform. So, first of all, I don't know how many of you were able to watch Mike Lindell's Cyber Symposium. It was from August 10th to August 12th. I got to watch the majority of it. He did get cut off kind of midway through the third day, but he had a lot of compelling evidence, explained a lot of things, you know, obviously the technical computer terminology and processes. I don't have a degree in IT. I can work my phone and my computer. That's about it. But I did have some people that were watching it with the IT backgrounds, and they knew exactly what they were talking about, and they were just as compelled by the evidence as us laymen's were, just from, you know, how everything changed and everything. If you watched it, I'd love to hear your comments about it. His speech that he gave Thursday morning, especially to me, because at Wednesday night, he had been assaulted on his way to his hotel room, physically. And he came out Thursday morning, and he was very passionate about what he was trying to do. Several times he said that this had nothing to do with Trump. It had nothing to do with Biden. It had to do with the American right to vote and the sanctity of our voting system and the election process. And very impassioned speech. At the end of it, he had everybody that was there on their feet cheering. I had tears in my eyes. It was absolutely amazing. And he basically said, I'm not afraid of all of these attacks against me. I'm not afraid or upset by what the fake media puts out there about me. What he is afraid of is our country not being a free country and not having that free and fair election anymore. So that, combined with a lot of the things that were talked about all since the last election in November, this week leading up to August 20th is going to be a very critical week. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean is, you remember that we talked about that the crime had to be committed. Everything had to be exposed. Everything had to come out publicly before the military could take control of the situation and actually make something happen. So August 20th, it seems like, is sort of the deadline for that, if anything's going to happen. I don't want to read a lot into it. I really don't know. I have no corroborating evidence, although there are some very powerful and compelling documents and videos and statements and interviews that would point to it. There are a lot of coincidences, and like I talked about in my last video, there's a lot of coincidences, or, you know, there's just a lot of things falling into place that could make this to be true. I don't want to be one of those people that keeps up that false hope that our country will be regained and that everything that's happened since inauguration of this year is null and void. I don't want to be one of those hope slingers, but there's also a lot of stuff out there that says that this could be a very real thing. You know, that's as best as I can do. So let's hope, you know, just keep on keeping on as far as that goes. And I'm going to talk about in a little bit, I'm going to also talk about how to prepare and a lot of the things to look for things to happen. On the flip side, and we kind of talked about this in our video to our May group last night, so I want you to picture like a Trump column and a COVID, excuse me, COVID column. So what I just talked about would go in that Trump column. What I'm going to talk about now goes into the COVID column. So, as I'm sure you are well aware also, but the Sleepy Joe mentioned the fact that they were talking about interstate lockdowns in America. So in Australia currently, they have, and I believe it's around Sydney, there are areas where people are not allowed to leave their area even to go to work. They have to remain in their area. They are also told that, like if they go to the grocery store, that they should not talk to people, their friends, their neighbors, even if they're wearing a mask, even if they've been fully jabbed. They do not want people even communicating anymore. Just a, hey, how are you in the grocery store? If that's not division, I don't know what is. In places like Paris, France, they're using the military and the police to enforce jab papers. So you have to have them, prove that you have them in order to sit down at cafes, restaurants, sporting venues, all of that. We already know that that's here in America, that if you want to do certain things, like go to a gym, that type of thing, you have to provide a jab paper. What does that sound like to you? The threat of interstate lockdowns right now would be a very big issue, because as long as our southern border is up or open for everybody to, you know, come across by the thousands, there's no way that Americans are going to stand for having our states blocked off where you can't go state to state. It's extremely anti-constitutional, extremely anti-American when you're allowing these people who are undocumented, unvaccinated, untested, unbackground checked to just come in, you know, from all over the world, from who knows where, but you're going to lock us down. However, as public opinion shifts to requiring the jab as a way to get back to some sort sense of normal living again, although we will never get back to that, that may change. And people might be as complacent in that as they are in everything else. And it's really unfortunate. So looking at this from both of those columns, the Trump column and the COVID column, I want to talk a little bit about how to be prepared. So obviously, I am not going to tell you whether or not to get the jab. That is entirely up to you and what is right for you. And that should be between you and your doctor, and not be between a one-size-fits-all CDC mandate and every single American. Okay? And by now, I would imagine you guys have already all made up your minds. You've either had it or you haven't. You're either going to get it or you're not. So, but if, like me, you are absolutely not going to do it, there's a couple of things that could happen. You could either lose your job, either by force or by choice. It may get to the point where we can't even travel across a state border, or you might become a target in your community, depending on where your community stands as a whole in the whole thing. I loved what Tucker Carlson said the other night, and I know he's been getting thrown under the bus lately too. They are really trying to get him out. And I'm going to paraphrase this for the most part, but a lot of it is a straight quote. They'd love to throw all of us non-jabbed people into the back of a black van and take us to a place where we can no longer be a mortal threat to those who obey without questioning. Think about that. What does that sound like to you? Okay, they want to round us up, rural communities, urban areas, populations where the jab, receiving the jab numbers are pretty low, round us all up, put us in the back of a van and haul us off. Because we are a threat to those who obey without questioning. So you no longer have your own personal thought. You can no longer have your own opinion. You can no longer have control over what's right for you, your loved ones, your children. We've made the decision this year to homeschool, because I firmly believe by the end of September, all of the schools will be shut down. So how are you going to prepare for either column? So, you know, it's mid-August. Fall and winter are coming really soon. So let's cover that really quick. You got to make sure that you have ways to heat your home that don't require electricity. If we have that 10 days of darkness at any point, at any time, or if something happens with an economic implosion or a war, whether it's civil, revolutionary, world, I don't know, you got to make sure that you have ways to heat your home that don't require electricity. And always have a backup source anyways. So even if you have a wood stove and something happens and you can't fix the chimney on it or whatever, you've got to make sure that you have two sources of heat that don't require electricity. Keep wool blankets on hand and make sure that you have ways to block off certain sections of your home. So if you have, you know, an upstairs or whatever, or extra rooms on your main floor, take tarps or heavy blankets, curtains, whatever you can do, and block those extra sections off so that you and your family or you and your mag group or whoever can stay warm without having to heat the entire building. If you anticipate that you're going to either lose your job, again, by force or by choice, start now with applying to other businesses that won't be requiring the jab. Ask the question, okay? Ask the question, are you going to make this a mandate? You're either going to get, yes, it is a mandate, yes, we expect it's coming, or no, we're not concerned about that. Ask the question and start applying for jobs that are not going to require it if you're like me. Cut down on your expenses as best you can and live off a minimal income. So if you have a two-person income right now, and one of you or both of you are in a field of work that is going to require the jab, you might want to start thinking about looking at your expenses and how you can get rid of a lot of your bills and your expenses so that maybe you can live off of one income. That's not everybody can afford to do that. Oh, believe me. With mortgages, medical bills, medications, you know, children's sports, all of that kind of stuff, it's really hard, and I understand that. I really do. But do a recheck on your finances, rein it in, and see if there's any way that you can strip out some of those extra expenses so that you can save money I know a lot of families at one time went down to just having one vehicle. It was less on their car insurance. If you had one person staying home and only one person working, they only had one vehicle. They also had lined up friends and family, so if an emergency occurred or whatever, they would have a way to get to town or, you know, get to the ER or whatever. But it saved a lot in gas money, insurance, repairs on the vehicle. So just look at ways that you can strip down your expenses. Keep less money in the bank. And I will be doing a video shortly. Well, I can't say shortly. I'm going to try to do it before Wednesday. If I don't, it won't be done until the first week of September. But there's a lot of stuff that's happening in the banking system right now. So keep only what you need in the bank to cover your bills. Keep the rest in cash. And then, again, save up as much as you can. That's super hard to do, especially if you're a single parent household where you only have one parent able to work and provide for the children and pay all the bills. That's super hard to do. I get it. It's all about only doing what you can afford and what's comfortable for you. I'm just suggesting that you keep only the money in the bank that you need for bills. Keep the rest in cash on hand. Even if you can do $5, $10 a week, that's better than not having anything. If the banking system goes down and you are unable to get into your account to withdraw money for food or gas or whatever, you're going to be a sitting duck. So try to start putting money aside in cash. Lastly, pay attention, especially now, to your surroundings. Pay special close attention to military movement. I've been getting a lot of reports from people that there are military vehicles and planes and helicopters in places that there's never been, or at least to the degree that there is. Someone that I know lives across from an armory that has been pretty much vacant. They still had material there, but no personnel. Helicopters have been flying in and out of this armory like crazy for the last 3 months, give or take. A black airplane with no tail numbers on it flew really low across a nearby town. Military vehicles, black vans that are completely blacked out in the front, the sides, and the back. Just a lot of weird stuff. So pay attention to military movement. If you see things, if you can get pictures, videos, please put them in the comment section below. Or you can email them to me if you don't want to put them in the public comments at positiveprepper@gmail.com. Send them to my email. It's really important that we all stay aware of what's going on. Pay attention to new construction on bridges, or new construction on border bridges. So if you live in a community that's right next to the border of another state and there's a bridge, pay attention to any new construction on that bridge. Even little construction, like maybe they just got like 4 cones and they're building something in the middle of it or at the end of it. Pay attention to that. Keep an eye on that. Pay attention to talking points from the government and about the lockdowns and about the jab mandates. Read between the lines. Listen to how they say it. Okay? Obviously don't take MSM's take on it or their perspective on it, because it's going to be faulty. So if you hear a talking point, it makes you question something, do your research. But pay attention to how they talk about it, how they flip-flop, the words, the careful wording that they use. Pay attention to how all of the fake media just regurgitates all that same stuff. If they're all regurgitating the same stuff, it's something to keep you focused over here so they can do this over here. So pay attention to that. Okay? So the good news, you know, with all of this, as crazy as it is getting, I've had more and more people tell me how nervous they are, how frightening it can be. And I understand that. I have my moments where I'm like, can it possibly get any worse? But we know it's going to. There are more people fighting back against everything. There are nurses and doctors that are quitting because of the jab mandate. We all have heard about how law enforcement, now that's not necessarily a good thing that they're quitting or retiring. But it also means that there are more people standing up saying no to this. Parents are pushing back against their school boards and their school districts. Even Democrats are starting to push back because they realize that small businesses will be a thing of the past if another lockdown is enforced. Okay? So hold fast. There is a movement underneath all of this. So you got this layer up here with the jab mandates and the confusion and the disturbing things that we hear, you know, whether it's through other prepping videos or things that we know that are going on around the world. There's this underlying movement right now that is getting stronger and it's gaining momentum. We're still the silent majority, but we're working on it. Okay? So hold fast. Revelation 3:10 says, because you have kept my word about patient endurance, I will keep you from the hour of trial that is coming on the whole world to try those who dwell on the earth. So keep that patient endurance. Things will most likely get a lot worse in the coming months, but we are assured that we will overcome. We just have to keep the faith. Remember that that underlying movement is gaining momentum. Stay on that front line. Keep moving with that line. And it's pushing back on a lot of the stuff that they are trying to do. So keep that patient endurance, keep the faith, and God bless.